I didn't plan to live a double life. That's what I keep telling myself, at least. Because if I'm being honest, it didn't start as some big lie. It started with something small, harmless even, a different name on a profile, a slightly changed story about where I worked, little details that didn't feel important at the time, but those small things, they stack up, and before I knew it, I wasn't just lying to people, I was living two completely different lives, for almost 2 years, two routines, two versions of me, two people who thought they knew exactly who I was. And the worst part, they didn't find out because I messed up. They found out because someone else was watching me. About 3 years ago, I moved to a new city. No friends, no family, no connections, just a small apartment, a job I didn't care about, and way too much time alone with my own thoughts. At first, it felt like freedom. No expectations, no past, no one to remind me who I used to be. I could start over, be better, or be different. And that's where everything started to shift. Because when no one knows you, you realize something dangerous. You can be anyone. My real life was simple. 9-to-5 job, same coffee place every morning, same route home, predictable, safe, kind of empty if I'm honest. Then one night, out of boredom more than anything, I downloaded an app. I wasn't even looking for anything serious, just someone to talk to, someone who didn't know me, someone who didn't expect anything. That's when I met Emily. Emily was easy, not in a bad way, just easy to be around. We clicked almost immediately. Same sense of humor, same music, same late-night conversations that somehow turn into 3 a.m. without you noticing. With her, I didn't feel like I had to perform. I could just exist. And for the first time since moving, I didn't feel alone anymore. We started seeing each other pretty quickly. Coffee turned into dinners. Dinners turned into weekends together. And just like that, my new life started to feel real, stable, like something I could actually build on. But here's the thing, even then, something in me wasn't settled. I wish I could explain it better. It wasn't that Emily wasn't enough. It was more like I had discovered this version of myself, this freedom to be whoever I wanted, and I didn't know how to let it go. So instead of choosing one life, I created another one. A few months later, I picked up some freelance work, night shifts, remote stuff. It gave me an excuse to be out late, to be unavailable, to disappear for hours without questions. And somewhere in that time, I met Sophie. Sophie was the complete opposite of Emily. Where Emily was calm, Sophie was unpredictable. Where Emily made me feel safe, Sophie made me feel alive. Everything with her was spontaneous. Last-minute plans, random drives at night, decisions that didn't make sense, but felt right in the moment. With her, I wasn't the same person. I talked differently, acted differently. Even my goals, my past, my stories, they weren't exactly the same. Not completely fake, just adjusted, rewritten. And that's when it stopped being accidental. Because at some point, I realized what I was doing, and I didn't stop. I managed my time carefully. Days belonged to Emily. Nights belonged to Sophie. Excuses became routine. Stories became consistent. And somehow, it worked. For a while, I told myself I was in control, that I had everything balanced, that as long as I was careful, no one would ever get hurt. But looking back now, that was the biggest lie of all. Because the truth is, I wasn't the only one paying attention anymore. For a while, everything felt stable. Or at least that's what I told myself. I had a system, a routine that made sense in my head. Emily had my mornings, my weekends, my normal life. Sophie had the nights, the unpredictability, the version of me that didn't ask questions. And somehow, I kept them separate. Different places, different habits, different stories. It wasn't perfect, But it worked. Until it didn't. The first sign was so small I almost ignored it. One night, I was with Sophie. We were driving around the city, no real destination, just talking about random things. Music, work, places we wanted to go. Then she casually mentioned a cafe, a very specific one, and that wouldn't have been strange, except for one thing. I had only ever been there with Emily. Once. It wasn't popular, not the kind of place you just randomly bring up, so I asked her about it. Tried to keep it light. "Have you been there before?" She just shrugged, said she'd heard about it somewhere. Didn't think much of it, but something about the way she said it felt off. I let it go, at least I tried to, because when you're living like I was, you get very good at ignoring things that don't fit. You have to, otherwise everything starts falling apart. A few days later, I was with Emily. We were sitting in her apartment, watching something neither of us was really paying attention to. She was on her phone, scrolling, quiet, too quiet. I remember noticing it, but not saying anything. Then she looked at me and asked something strange. "Do you ever feel like someone's lying to you?" Just like that, out of nowhere. My first instinct was to laugh it off, make a joke, keep things normal. But something in her expression stopped me. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't even accusing me. She just looked unsure, like she was trying to solve something in her head. I asked her what she meant. She hesitated, then shook her head. "Nothing. Forget it," and turned back to her phone. That should have been the moment I paid attention. That should have been the moment I stopped everything. But I didn't, because at that point, I still believed I was in control. Looking back now, that was the beginning of the cracks. Small, easy to miss, but once they start, they don't stop. After that, things started happening more often. Little things, too specific to be coincidences, too vague to prove anything. Sophie would mention places I'd never told her about. Emily would ask questions that felt slightly off, not direct, not confrontational, just enough to make me pause. And the worst part? Neither of them ever said anything clearly. No accusations, no confrontations, just hints. It felt like being watched, not in an obvious way, nothing dramatic, no one following me, no messages, no proof, just this constant feeling that something, somewhere, was slightly out of place. I started double-checking everything, my messages, my schedule, what I said to each of them, looking for mistakes, for overlaps, for anything that could explain it. But I couldn't find anything. No slip-ups, no obvious errors, nothing that should have exposed me. And that's when it got worse, because if it wasn't me, then what was it? At first, I thought I was just overthinking. Stress, guilt, maybe. Your brain does strange things when you're constantly lying. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't know what. And then, about a week later, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. I remember exactly where I was when it happened. It was late. I'd just gotten home, dropped my keys on the table, and sat down without even turning the lights on, just scrolling through my phone, half distracted, half exhausted. That kind of silence where your thoughts start getting louder than everything else. That's when the message came in. Unknown number, no name, no profile picture, just a single line. "How long do you think you can keep this up?" I stared at it for a few seconds, trying to process what I was looking at. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Wrong number, spam, something random. So I didn't reply. I just locked my phone and put it down, tried to ignore it. But something about it didn't feel random. A few minutes passed, maybe 5, maybe 10, I don't even remember. Then my phone buzzed again, same number. This time, it wasn't just a message, it was a photo. I opened it, and for a second, I genuinely didn't understand what I was seeing. It was me. Not a selfie, not something I had taken. It was a picture of me, walking down the street, from a distance. The angle was wrong, too far away, too deliberate. It wasn't something you accidentally capture. Someone had taken that photo, on purpose. And I knew exactly when it was taken. Earlier that day, when I was with Emily. I felt it immediately, that drop in your stomach, that cold, heavy feeling that spreads before your brain can even catch up. I looked around my apartment, instinctively, like someone could be there, watching. Which didn't make sense, but at that moment, nothing did. My first thought was simple. Someone was messing with me. A joke. A bad one. But then I noticed something else, something I hadn't seen at first. At the bottom of the image, there was a timestamp, and just beneath it, a location. Not just the street, not just the area, the exact place I had been standing. There's a difference between someone guessing where you are and someone knowing. And this wasn't a guess. I picked up my phone again. My hands weren't steady anymore. I typed a reply, deleted it, typed again, deleted it. Finally, I just sent, "Who is this?" The reply came almost instantly. "You really don't know." That's when it stopped feeling like a prank. Because whoever this was, they weren't trying to scare me. They were enjoying it. I went back to the photo, zoomed in, checked everything, every detail, looking for something that could explain it. A reflection, a shadow, anything. But there was nothing. Just me, walking, completely unaware that someone was watching. And then it hit me. If they had that photo, how many others did they have? How long had this been happening? And more importantly, what else did they know? My chest felt tight. My thoughts started racing, trying to connect everything. The cafe Sophie mentioned. Emily's question. The strange timing. It didn't feel random anymore. It felt connected, like someone had been quietly watching everything, waiting. And I was only just now realizing it. My phone buzzed again. Same number. This time, just one sentence. "They both trust you." I froze, because in that moment, I understood exactly what that meant. This wasn't just about me anymore. They knew about Emily. They knew about Sophie. And suddenly, losing control wasn't a possibility anymore. It had already happened. I wish that was where it stopped. It wasn't. A few seconds passed, maybe less. Then my phone buzzed again. Same number. Another photo. This time, it wasn't me. It was Emily, sitting in that same cafe, the one I had only ever taken her to once. She was looking down at her phone, completely unaware. The picture was taken from outside, through the window, at an angle that made it clear whoever took it didn't want to be seen. My stomach dropped even lower, if that was even possible. Because now it wasn't just about me being watched. It was her. And before I could even process that, another message came through. Should I show her too? I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because for the first time, it wasn't fear for myself. It was the realization that someone else was now part of this, someone who had no idea what I had pulled them into. After that, things changed. Not all at once, not in some dramatic, obvious way. It was slower than that, quieter, like something tightening around me, one small turn at a time. I stopped sleeping properly. Every sound felt wrong. Every notification made my chest tighten. I started checking my phone constantly, rereading messages, looking for patterns, trying to understand what this person wanted. But there was nothing clear, no demands, no threats, just presence. And that somehow made it worse, because if someone is threatening you, at least you know what they want. But this felt like a game, and I was the only one who didn't know the rules. I thought about blocking the number, changing everything, disappearing. But something stopped me, because deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. Whoever this was, they already knew too much. And then, Emily started acting different. At first it was subtle, small things. She'd pause before answering me, look at me a second longer than usual, like she was trying to read something. One night we were out for dinner, nothing special, just a normal place we'd been to before, and everything felt off. She wasn't really present, barely touched her food, kept checking her phone. I asked if something was wrong. She said no, too quickly. Then a few minutes later, she asked me where I had been the night before. It was a simple question, normal even, but the way she asked it wasn't. Careful, measured, like she already had an answer in mind and just wanted to see if I'd match it. I gave her one of my usual explanations. Work, late shift, nothing interesting. She nodded, didn't argue, didn't question it. But she didn't look convinced. And that's when I felt it again. That same quiet shift. Like something behind the scenes was moving forward. Sophie wasn't any better. If anything, she was worse. With her, things didn't feel distant. They felt intense. Too intense. She started asking more questions, personal ones, about my past, my routines, where I spent my time. At first, I thought maybe she just wanted to get closer, but then she asked something that didn't make sense. Do you ever feel guilty? Just like that, out of nowhere. I laughed it off, tried to keep it light. But she didn't laugh. She just looked at me, waiting. And for a second, I didn't know what to say. Because suddenly, it didn't feel like a random question anymore. It felt targeted, like she wasn't asking in general. She was asking me specifically. That night, after I left her place, I checked my phone again. Nothing new, no messages, no photos, and somehow, that was worse. Because the silence didn't feel like it was over. It felt like it was building. The next few days were the same. Normal on the surface, but underneath, everything felt wrong. Like I was walking through something I couldn't see yet. Emily would go quiet at random moments. Sophie would push just a little too far with her questions. And all the while, that number stayed silent. Watching. Waiting. I started noticing things I hadn't before. A car parked too long near my building. Someone standing across the street, looking down at their phone, but not moving. Reflections in windows that didn't quite line up. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was all in my head. But when you know someone is watching you, everything starts to feel like proof. And then, just when I started convincing myself I was overreacting, my phone buzzed again. This time, I didn't hesitate. I picked up my phone immediately. Same number, but the message wasn't like the others. It wasn't vague. It wasn't playing games. It was direct. Tonight, that was it. Just one word, and somehow, that felt worse than everything before. Because up until that moment, there was still uncertainty. Still space to pretend this wasn't real. But now it felt like something was about to happen. Something planned. Something I wasn't ready for. A second message came through. An address. I stared at it for a long time, because I recognized it immediately. It was a place I knew. A bar. Not just any bar. The one I had taken Emily to. And also, the one Sophie had mentioned wanting to go to. I felt my chest tighten, because now there were no more coincidences. No more maybe. This was deliberate. Whoever this was, they weren't just watching anymore. They were setting something up. I typed a reply. "What is this?" "Sent." The response came instantly. "You'll see." I should have ignored it. I should have walked away, blocked the number, stayed home, told the truth, anything. But I didn't, because by that point, I already knew. If I didn't go, it wouldn't stop. The entire day felt unreal. Everything moved slower. Sounds felt distant. I went through my routine like normal. Work, messages, conversations. But none of it felt real. Because in the back of my mind, there was only one thing. Tonight, I texted Emily, asked if she wanted to meet. She replied almost immediately. "Actually, I was going to ask you the same thing." My stomach dropped. I tried to keep it casual. "Where?" There was a pause, long enough for me to notice. Then, "That place you like." I didn't need her to say the name. I already knew. A few minutes later, I checked my phone again. Sophie had texted me. "Are you free tonight?" I just stared at the screen. Didn't reply. Because at that point, it didn't feel like a choice anymore. Everything was lining up, too perfectly, too precisely. And that's when I understood. This wasn't random. This wasn't someone messing with me. This was planned. Every message, every photo, every moment of silence, all of it leading here. To one place, one time, where everything was about to come together. I got there early. I don't even know why. Maybe I thought I could control something. Maybe I thought I could stop it. But the moment I walked in, I knew I was already too late. Because they were both there. Emily and Sophie, sitting at the same table, looking at each other, and then at me. For a second, no one said anything. Not me, not Emily, not Sophie. Just silence, heavy, uncomfortable. The kind that makes everything feel final. I looked at them, then at the table, then back at them again, trying to understand what I was seeing. Because this wasn't supposed to happen like this. Not like this. Emily's expression was different. Not angry, not even surprised. Just calm. Too calm. Sophie, on the other hand, looked at me like she was waiting. Waiting for something. The truth, a lie, anything. But I didn't say anything. Because for the first time in 2 years, I didn't have anything left to say. Emily was the first to speak. "You took me here once." Her voice was steady, controlled. I nodded. Then Sophie leaned back slightly. "You told me about this place too." And just like that, everything that I had carefully kept apart collapsed into one moment. I opened my mouth, closed it again. Because there was no version of this that ended well. Then Emily reached into her bag and placed her phone on the table, screen facing me. A message thread. Unknown number. My stomach dropped. I didn't even need to read it. I already knew. Sophie did the same thing. Same number, same messages, same photos. "They sent us everything," Emily said quietly. "Not all at once," Sophie added. "Just enough to make us question things." I felt cold, because that's when it all clicked. This wasn't chaos. This wasn't random. This was controlled, careful, designed. "They told me you were lying," Emily continued. "But they never said how." Sophie nodded. "They wanted us to figure it out ourselves." And that was the worst part. Because it meant they didn't just expose me. They made them watch it happen, piece by piece. I ran a hand through my hair, tried to think. "Who sent it?" I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine anymore. Emily and Sophie looked at each other, then back at me. and for a second, neither of them spoke, like they were deciding something. Finally, Emily said it. "You really don't know?" And that's when something shifted. Because suddenly, that question felt familiar. Too familiar. Then Sophie said a name I hadn't thought about in months. Mark. Everything in me went still, because I knew exactly who that was. Mark wasn't just some random person. He was someone I used to know, someone who knew me before I moved, before all of this. We worked together, spent time together. At one point, I would have called him a friend. But things ended badly. Not dramatic, not explosive, just distance, and something left unresolved. He contacted both of us, Emily said we deserved to know the truth. Sophie let out a quiet breath. He had proof. And just like that, everything made sense. The photos, the timing, the details only someone close to me would know. He hadn't just been watching me. He had been studying me. For how long? I didn't even want to know. Why? I asked, but even as I said it, I already had an answer. Emily looked at me for a long moment, then said quietly, "He said, you don't deserve either of us." Silence again, and this time, it felt heavier, because there was nothing left to uncover. No more mystery, no more questions, just consequences. Emily stood up first. No yelling, no scene, just a quiet, final kind of movement. Sophie followed a second later. She didn't look angry, just disappointed. And somehow, that was worse. Neither of them asked for explanations. Neither of them waited for one. Because they didn't need it anymore. They already knew everything that mattered. I stayed there, sitting at that table, long after they were gone. And for the first time in 2 years, there was no second life waiting for me. No messages to answer, no stories to manage, no version of me to switch into. Just silence. I thought I was in control, that I could balance everything, keep everything separate. But the truth is, I wasn't managing 2 lives. I was slowly destroying both. And in the end, I didn't lose them because I got caught. I lost them because someone decided I deserved to.